Bill Moseley,
Danielle Harris,
Dick Warlock,
George Romero,
Kane Hodder,
Robert England,
Ronnie Blakely,
C.J. Graham.
and you're listening to
Deep in the Horror of Texas.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Deep in the Heart of Texas. This is Jeff.
This is Nathan.
This is Ralph.
We just got back together. We're going to talk about the Halloween series. So, which better way to start off with than the 1978 John Carpenter's Halloween?
Be still, my beating heart.
Leading this cast was the beautiful and extremely talented
Dick Warlock.
Lee Curtis. That's part two, Ralph.
Oh,
Jamie Lee Curtis, who is just the scream queen I think we had all been hoping for ever since her mom, Janet Leigh, did The Amazing Psycho. And taking a part of what we probably haven't had in the horror realm since Psycho, Carpenter has graciously added the quintessential slasher, in my opinion.
Called the Gone with the Wind of horror movies. This may not be the first slasher movie. It's not. I mean, there's Black Christmas, there's Texas Chainsaw Massacre, there's Psycho, there's quite a few of them. But this was the one that was indie, that wasn't produced by a huge studio, that blew the fuck up and pretty much set all the standards and rules for horror movies. And they didn't even know that. Like, when they made it, John Carpenter has stated, by Irwin Yablans, stated that he didn't think this movie would do good.
No.
And when it did well, he was like, well, it was a fluke. And that goes into Halloween 2, which I'll talk about later.
and that's what's so great about it, because he seemed very, kind of almost humble about it. It was like, well, it's cool. It did great, but I don't really see it.
Well, he set himself up right, okay? He told... now, really, the guy who should be fucking credited with the making of this movie is Irwin Yablans. Because this guy came up with the title, came up with the setting, and then let John and Deborah, who were, I think John had done Dark Star and Precinct 13,
And that's what
and then this.
And that's what you have to really put into focus, is that with Carpenter coming out of UCLA, like, he went to film school in California and all this stuff, and like his alumni when he graduated was John Milius, who did like God damn it, I think he directed Conan the Barbarian. I mean, John Milius is
Twilight Zone, one of the episodes.
I'm not sure. I'm not going to say.
Isn't he
yes
the guy that got in trouble for?
I know John Milius is one of
Kid?
the big names, and then also Robert Zemeckis was in his alumni. So if you can think that even like John Carpenter, when he graduated, he preceded George Lucas. Like George Lucas was like maybe a junior or sophomore, in the college. So if you can imagine that kind of mindset of like what that college was pumping out as far as what our 80s would eventually become, and much of our childhood. It gives you an idea. And with Dark Star, like Nate talked about, it was more of a kind of like a hippie-ish social satire of 2001, and then he would further get acquitted with money in a project called Attack on Precinct 13.
The only time he won an Academy Award.
Which is unreal, because it was a
for a
student
short
film,
story.
and the student film became a feature. So I was like, wow, that's awesome. But
Very first fucking swing out of the bag, and you get a fucking Academy Award.
like you said, Yablon saw Attack on Precinct 13, and he brought him and Deborah Hill on board to do something that was more in light of, I want somebody that slasher film, a killer of babysitters.
Yeah.
And then the Halloween,
And then he
not
looked and
specifically
never-
the Halloween thing, but I think it was I
No,
wanted to take
Halloween.
place on October 31st.
Yeah, but
and
he looked, and there was never a film called Halloween.
And then that placated to what would essentially be Carpenter, Deborah Hill catching lightning in a bottle with Mr. Yablon.
Yeah. Well, like I said, Carpenter covered his bases. So he told Irwin right off the bat, hey, $300K, I can make this, no fucking problem. And Irwin was like, yeah, let's fucking do it. But then Carpenter was like, I want a principal payment of $10,000 for my services for a director. But he also was smart enough to say, I want 10% of the profit. All those were granted to him. So his initial payment was $7,010,000 pretty much.
Yeah, he would get overtime.
You know, it made $70 million at the box office. 60 to 70, it's estimated. There was a lot of cloning, mafia, taking over shit. But that's what they gathered.
We're going to talk about the making of the film before we get into the gist of it. And the neat things about making this film were the steps that came into play of Halloween, like the creation of the Michael Myers mask.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, yeah. Originally, it was supposed to be a Emmett
mask.
Kelly.
Oh,
Emmett Kelly clown mask.
Yeah,
Emmett Kelly was the famous, I think, 1920s clown.
And it was because
side stupid hair on the side. Big goofy smile. And
Bozo.
And that's what, almost like Bozo, but not so painted. Like he was almost like not a creepy clown, but like a drunkard clown. Like you would think back in the day, like early Mickeys and Disney kind of shit. Those were all like Emmett Kelly wannabe kind of things.
Okay.
They bought the mask. They bought 2 masks. They bought that mask and they brought it in, and John was like, "Yeah, that's scary having that looking at you." And then Tommy Wallace went in.
And the movie that came out, I'm trying to think of it.
Devil's Reign.
Yeah, Devil's Reign. And William Shatner had a mask, and I think
it was...
There's another couple of actors that had their masks made.
Don Post.
And it was just weird that they would settle on the
Shatner
mask.
Well, the funny thing about that also is that the Captain Kirk mask, it was a Don Post mold for the Captain Kirk. But in the Devil's Reign, which is rumored to be where they took the mold from, it's funny, in that movie, William Shatner loses his eyes and he pulls the shape expression through a good amount of the movie. So it's really fucking cool to kind of go back and look at that and be like, holy shit.
Well, it's interesting that Shatner would hold the kind of placemat of like such a your slasher form, because we can't give too a much homage to like the uniqueness of the hockey mask for Jason.
Yeah.
Or the burn victim of Freddy Krueger and stuff like that, but to have something solidified with like William Shatner with Michael Myers, and it be kind of like, I'm sorry, essentially the quintessential fucking slasher, because I kind of put Michael above all because of what he was able to achieve.
He killed it.
Yeah, because I mean, you could put Leatherface in there, totally. I mean, Leatherface is definitely in the running to like dick slap Michael Myers, but I think Michael Myers has more of the, I don't know, like Texas Chainsaw Massacre has more of an artistic,
I'll tell you exactly
student
what it
kind
has.
of acuteness, and what Halloween had was
it has Dean Cundy.
Thank you, Dean Cundy,
Yeah.
which I was fucking privileged to learn is that was never a Carpenter situation. Deborah Hill brought Dean Cundy to the situation.
Yeah.
Dean Cundy was brought to the table because of Deborah Hill, and I think she's the most unsung fucking hero
She
of
really
all
is.
of these Carpenter films.
She really is. Of the first 3 films, she really is the person that brought it together.
I think Carpenter is a great visionary.
That's
great.
That's
But I
all
think
they wanted him
Deborah
to worry
Hill
about.
was just, she was the sous chef. She's the one that made sure that all the tastes in the kitchen were just right before everything got served.
Well, she was like the hardcore producer that filled in all the blanks. Like, okay, chick needed her hair done. Deborah Hill would do her hair, do makeup, do the acting, do the writing, help John do the equipment, get people to act in this movie, spend the money the right way. I mean,
Stand in for Michael.
Yeah, she really was twice.
And Deborah Hill,
She's twice. She's young Michael and old Michael.
I think Deborah Hill's one of the main reasons that I think Carpenter was able to shine so much. I think that was just...
She was amazing, and they were dating at the time. So
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was a collaborative, boyfriend.
I'm just
girlfriend.
amazed whenever you see her name tied to stuff now. It's really, there's just something you can't put your finger on, but you're kind of like, you're thankful that she was there, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, she's one that when she died, I was just like, man, I fucking wish I had the chance to meet her. But I mean, she's responsible for, everything that Carpenter ever touched in the early '80s to, God, almost mid-late
Like a
80s.
John Lennon McCartney,
Yeah, she,
You know?
even though they broke up after Halloween, she and him always had a great working
Keith
relationship.
Richards, Jagger.
Yeah.
It's like
What?
fuck it, like it was like that kind of like camaraderie.
It was
Yeah.
just like when they came together, magic, like fucking The Fog. I mean, Escape from New York. I mean, anything that they did together was just like a home run. So,
And
I think she did The Fog with him. Or
I think they got that was the main thing with after this. They got a 4-picture deal or something like that, and that gave them privilege to make The Fog and I'm blanking, Christine.
Well, Halloween 2, they were contractually obligated.
To just write.
Yeah, I'll talk about that later.
Yeah. But yeah, I know a picture deal like took them away from this because they did such a great job with Halloween. All right, so we're speaking about Cundy, and which better way than to talk about Cundy than the opening of Halloween?
This track shot.
This was done with the Steadicam. And what was interesting to learn about this, if you listen to the commentary on the new Scream Factory box set and stuff like that, is that the Steadicam, they were just going by the seat of their pants. They were learning as they went. It was a new tool at that time, and Carpenter being the visionary and Cundy being the privileged fucking, amazing photographer he is, they were able to correct one of the coolest fucking things, which is that extremely long take at the beginning of the film.
Yeah.
Now, when you think about the lighting of the scene and how that would have to be a fluent movement throughout the house, because you would go from outside to inside to upstairs, from upstairs to downstairs. I mean, there was just all these little neat things to fucking just do in the Steadicam shot. But then on top of that, you're also adding that that mask element that takes place in the shot too.
Yeah.
I mean, those were things that were just, very Hitchcockian, like to the level of like, wow, we hadn't seen that done that right before.
Yeah.
What was your takeaway from that opening shot when you saw it the first time you saw it?
Funny enough, the first time I'd ever seen this was actually hanging out with Nate, because Halloween was never really on my radar, to be honest with you. But whenever I saw that opening scene, it was definitely something different than what I was used to, because anytime that you see any kind of slashers like Jason or Freddy or anything like that, you never get that. Like, even if you see their opening, like their origins, not Friday 1 but Friday 2 with Jason or anything like that, you never get like a setup like that in any of those movies.
That actually puts you in the skin of the killer.
It literally and metaphorically puts you in the eyes of the killer. You see what they're seeing.
When you saw it, did it feel old to you, or did it feel?
Of course.
Like
Oh yeah, of course.
Did it hold its 70s vibe to you, or did you feel
it-
more of an 80s feel?
I got an 80s vibe from it. Granted, yeah, it did come out in
78.
Yeah, it did come out in 78, but I did get an 80s vibe from it. Even, like I said, not knowing the origin, where it started, where this movie had come from. Like, I knew of it. I knew Michael because years ago there was a girl I used to hang out with. We went to this convention, and she, not having the Michael mask, painted it on herself. So I knew Michael. I knew the character.
Gotcha.
But I never knew the movie. So
Did you ever? I'm trying to word this right. Did you ever feel that the Halloween series as a whole, or just part one? Oh shit! I lost it. Go ahead. Sorry.
nah, you're fine. The Halloween series itself, we'll not get into the series.
Yeah,
We'll
yeah.
talk about the
I was
first one.
trying to focus in on one, and just saying like, when you watch Halloween 1, did it feel like aged like Dawn of the Dead and George A. Romero's work? You know how you watch some of these other.
Does it still hold?
Yeah,
up?
like when you watch Halloween 1, did it feel like,
Still
damn, this
current.
just it just feels old? Like,
Oh well, yeah. No, it didn't. It didn't feel old, because to me, the way I was seeing it, this is a classic. It's not exactly timeless because everything's still kind of dated
Yeah.
with like the hair and the
Bell bottoms.
outfits, the bell bottoms, so on and so forth. So it still felt dated,
Gotcha.
but it's a classic.
Yeah.
the shitty weed that the cop can't smell.
well, I think what I think alludes to a lot of stuff is that Halloween's in that silent little town of Haddonfield, and when you watch Nightmare on Elm Street.
Go ahead. I'm
No,
sorry.
I was gonna say when you watch Nightmare on Elm Street, it feels like an '80s film because you
Yeah.
feel like the
big
the,
hair.
Yeah.
Thank you. And then when you watch Friday 13th Part 2 and you start getting introduced to Jason, you feel a disconnect of like maybe it's not shot as well as it could be. And with Texas Chainsaw Massacre, it's not shot as well as it could be, but it's still done great for some reason because of it's like of a student film kind of esque.
With Texas, like I get a Grindhouse vibe from it.
Gotcha.
So like that like I can't see it as anything else. Like I've always seen it as like a grungy Grindhouse.
Yeah.
Friday, yeah, there is a bit of a disconnect because it's like, okay, well, it's obvious this takes place during whatever time period because of the outfits, the way they talk, the way they act, and the scenery, and same thing with Nightmare. But I don't know, for some reason, for Halloween, like I consider those other guys like, oh yeah, those are the guys that set everything up, but I don't see them as classics,
Gotcha.
like the classic Halloween. I've always referred to as one of the classics, like,
and that's what always throws me back is because I don't know if like some of the other films might have benefited from a Kundi. You know what I mean?
Oh, dude, totally.
Yeah.
I mean, it's funny that you bring up the age that you, as you're watching it, what age timeline you think this is in. So Friday the 13th, when I watch that movie, I always think of it being late 60s, early 70s.
Yeah.
You know,
It's
it's
not
clearly filmed in
until-
79 or 80.
Yeah.
yeah, it's not until it goes to hell that everything kind of just feels like it's been like Jason's frozen in the 80s.
That
the
timeline's
entire
so
time.
fucked up. I mean, it's like, 20 years has passed and it's 1983. Like,
Yeah. But
if we're still dressing with shoulder pads in the fucking 2000s, slap some
God
fools.
help us.
oh yeah, like
That was
yeah,
a bad age.
for the first 8 movies, Jason is perpetually stuck in the 80s.
Yeah, and it's like
Like he doesn't go anywhere. And the 90s kind of show him getting out of that, but it's still this is still late 80s. It feels like it's not until you go like they launch his ass into fucking space that's like, oh, now we're out of the fucking 80s.
yeah, Halloween definitely feels like it's coming out of the 70s. Like its place is there. The bell bottoms, the hair, just everything, the styles, the cars, everything shouts the 70s, but yet it feels like closer to the 80s.
And hell with Nightmare,
It's
kind of
78. Of course, it's close to the 80s.
It's close to the 80s, but
it doesn't feel backdated. Like Texas Chainsaw, that has always felt to me like 65. Yet I think it was made in 74.
Yeah.
So it's like it holds on to the year that it's portrayed.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's
I
great.
mean, if you told me the day that they're heading to Woodstock, I'd be like, okay. I was like,
Yeah.
fuck, if you don't pay attention to all the exposition, you could go with that because
Or hell,
you don't know. It's just like a group of friends in a van.
yeah. Hell, even with the remake, we're going to a Leonard Skinner concert.
Exactly.
Oh well, shit. Okay.
Well,
Exactly.
I would just punch in with old Doc Brown and make sure to go back to 19 whatever.
But we're going. We don't need, bro.
Let the vendors know, hey, you need more toilets and you need more food.
and stay away from the brown acid.
Yeah, I mean it's I love this movie, man. Another thing, as far as getting it made, so Mustafa Akkad, who you will hear more and more about this guy as this series goes on. He was the financier of Halloween. Irwin Yablans had a company. Irwin was an executive at Paramount.
Mm-hmm.
He got tired of all the bullshit, so he left, made his own company, and did it indie. One of the original investors in his company was Mustafa Akkad. So to get this movie made, him and Carpenter, as Carpenter said, $300,000 will get it knocked out. They drew up a manifesto of all the prices and everything that's happening, and they took it to Akkad. They flew to London to meet him, and Akkad right off the bat said, "I'm not interested." Like,
Oh, wow.
No way. He said, "What kind of movie costs $300,000?" And through Mustafa's thinking was, if it has a high budget, at least there's a chance, an expectation that they won't hit that budget.
Yeah.
And it's a little worrisome. But he said, direct quote, if it's a crazy low budget, you're probably not even going to get something. It's going to be worthless. So he said, $300,000, I'm out. Irwin Yablans, knowing Akkad was like this proud man, insulted him at the end of the meeting. He tapped John on the shoulder. He said, "John, $300,000 is a lot of money. Maybe it's more than Mustafa can handle." They walked out with the $300,000 check. It was just like, what? How dare you? Give him a check.
That's awesome.
Dude, but I mean, God, do I know any rich people? I'd pull that on.
Well, that's what's funny is that for what he was doing, they were basically doing Blumhouse back in the 70s, which is so unique, is because Carpenter was given that opportunity to do something truly unique. Because I think you have a germ of idea, you have the germ of the idea, and when you had the right people in place, like Carpenter, like Deborah Hill, like I think Tommy Lee Wallace ended up editing this, and then Dean Cundy being at the helm with the photography. They were able to capture that lightning in a bottle situation because everything here was very mediocre until I even think like Carpenter said, like he realized what he was into when he saw an early cut of this film with no music. And then when he added the music, all of that tension and terror that he was holding, it came to fruition, because that was just the right beat to put you in. Because as we go back into the opening scene, it's like those were the pacing moments to set you up for what you're about to sit down and watch. That was the eeriness. That was the horror that they were gonna like take you into with this troubling, sick little tale in Haddonfield.
Really, have you ever watched Tarantino without the soundtrack or dialogue?
Oh,
It's like piss poor movie,
it's like fucking 50-year-old cosplay.
right? It's long tracking shots and long scenes.
Yeah.
So if you don't have anything to spice that up, and let's face it, the girl talk is annoying as hell.
But it was real.
Yeah.
And
I
that's
mean,
why
totally was like a new word. It
Yeah.
was the new hip word that was coming out. So every sentence was totally improvised with totally put in it. It was like,
And I think the reason I love Halloween so much is that when you go to some of the other films, there's not a real truth in any of the other ones as much as there was in part one. I think they're really, like I said,
natural.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's weird because Jamie Lee Curtis was like, being Tony Curtis and Janet Leigh's daughter, she was born into stardom. So she was always very preppy, cheerleader, loud, and playing a shy, quiet girl.
But
and even PJ Souls was like, all right, they got our parts backwards. I'm the quiet one, and she's the loudmouth.
But she was, I don't know, for some reason, Jamie Lee Curtis was able to just be humble,
quiet, and natural.
And in those kind of roles, it's like you're not trying to be the beautiful heroine. You're not trying. You have to not be afraid to be damaged. You're not supposed to be afraid to look, truly terrified in your scenes. And Jamie she did all those. She hit every fucking mark you want to see to capture the realness of those terrifying situations that she would slowly enter as the movie moves forth. Shortly after the fucking opening scene and you get the big reveal of the camera pull off and the crane shot arises and you see the boy sitting there and the parents walking up to the son in the clown costume with the knife, we get introduced to, which was funny to learn, is not the Carpenter's first choice for Mr. Dr. Loomis.
No.
He went to Peter Cushing, Christopher Lee, and they all turned it down.
Oh, Cushing wanted to, but he was contractually obligated to Star Wars.
Gotcha.
So he was just like, they could make it at any moment.
But I can't imagine Carpenter's dialogue and Deborah Hill's dialogue. I mean, I can't imagine this dialogue coming out of anybody else, because when he talks about the personification of evil,
that's all Carpenter.
It sounds like poetry coming out of Donald Pleasance.
I met him 15 years ago. I was told there was nothing left. No reason, no conscience, no understanding, and even the most rudimentary sense of life or death, of good or evil, right or wrong. I met this 6-year-old child with this blank, pale, emotionless face and the blackest eyes, the devil's eyes. I spent 8 years trying to reach him, and then another 7 trying to keep him locked up, because I realized that what was living behind that boy's eyes was purely and simply evil.
You know what I really love is
he's having
the
the
TV version.
Gotcha.
I love it because our introduction to Donald Pleasance is 100% different.
You're talking about the TV version of Halloween 1?
Yes.
Okay, gotcha.
Yes, it adds to the story, and it doesn't take away. They had to do that because the original film was not long enough to fill the TV slots,
Oh, wow.
the TV slot position on all 3 channels. So what they had to do was they had to go back to the studio and film, I think, an extra like 8 minutes. It was roughly 8 to 10 minutes, and God, the stuff they added was great. It's like, okay, the first scene after the house and finding out that Michael has killed his sister. I don't know if we've talked about that yet. The next scene is Donald Pleasance driving up with this nurse up to the insane asylum. Oh, that is the law. I have to release him. But the next scene you see of him is him at the hearing talking to 2 other doctors saying, we need to keep this dude in here. And them saying, prove it. He hasn't spoken or moved in forever. And he's just like, he's waiting, and they deny him. So then he walks down the hall, walks into Michael's room, and Michael's like, fuck, like maybe 14, 15. And he's just sitting there in a chair looking out the window, and he's like, you fooled them, haven't you, Michael? And it's just Donald Pleasance staring at Michael, and Michael just staring out the window. And then the next scene you see is the lightning crashing and Michael escaping. So, but there's a couple of scenes that are like that where they had to fill in, and I fucking love them.
Gotcha.
They're so good. I don't know what your point.
No, it was the point of talking about
the
Donald
poetry.
Pleasance. How Donald Pleasance's voice is like
his delivery.
Yeah,
is perfect.
Yeah,
like when the window shatters and he's just like, you must think of me as a very sensible doctor. Pulls out a gun. I do have a permit.
I love. We'll get into it in Halloween too, because
if I was going to quote something, I did that monologue in high school for my drama class. Yeah, that'd be the one I'd quote.
That would be the one.
Yeah. Not going to.
Not now.
Let me see what happens at the end of this corona.
There you go. Final thoughts.
So, pop quiz. How many people played the Shape?
4.
Ralph?
I'd say about 3.
The correct answer would be which version of Michael, young or old.
Oh, really?
Together, 9 people played him.
Wow.
So there's Nick Castle, John Carpenter, Tommy Lee Wallace, Deborah Hill, Nick Castle, Tony Moran, and then
Tony Moran stood in for
Tony
Halloween
Moran
1?
is the guy that fucking gets the mask pulled off.
Wow, so that's his fucking.
That's it. Everything that was close up of the Shape
Why
was
Nick
Nick Castle.
Why Nick Castle didn't feel like doing the reveal as.
Probably because he had a goofy face. He was like more of a comedic person.
Yeah.
But he walked a certain way, and John was like, put on the mask and walk. And so, coming up to filming, Nick's like, okay, what's my motivation? He's like, Nick, shut the fuck up and walk. Like, just walk. That's all
I need to get.
He had this very steady walk about him, and that's all Carpenter wanted.
Wow.
And then, so anything where you see Michael's mask clearly or him walking up is Nick Castle.
Gotcha.
Anything where you see shadows or a figure is either Deborah Hill or, the closet scene's Tommy Lee Wallace. When he gets stabbed and he's laying flat on the floor and he does the iconic sit-up, that's John Carpenter. When he comes out in the hallway, gets his mask removed, that's Tony Moran. And then you got the fucking kids. Deborah Hill was the child's hands, grabbing the knife, grabbing the mask, all that.
But Nick Castle holds a solid credit as being the Shape.
Yeah, because
credits.
I'd say like
no. I mean,
85 to 90% is Nick Castle.
Yeah, it's like Dario Argento. Dario Argento always wearing the black gloves when you see like the murder scenes and you see the black gloves in camera and stuff like that.
Yeah. So then you have the little kid that played Michael, and then you have the kid who played Michael in the insane asylum at age 13, 15, whatever the fuck it is. That is not in the theatrical. That's TV.
And that's not the same kid from Halloween 2?
No.
Oh, wow. So they changed those kids that many times?
Yeah.
Damn.
Wait. God, no, it isn't.
I was about to say, because I was like...
In this one, Michael's only about 10.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I kind of pooted that. Yeah. The one from Halloween 2 is like 13, 14.
Gotcha. And he's the one that's going to do an appearance at this Halloween 40th anniversary.
Dude, they found the chick, they found Michael's sister, Judith Myers.
Wow.
Like, she's been out of Hollywood for like 20 years. They finally found her.
Wow.
And she's going.
That's awesome.
I'm like, oh, you were in Playboy. You got great tits. You're in the film for Michael, and you're dead.
Oh yeah, I have so many questions when we get to Halloween 2.
Huh?
We'll get to it. It's more things I wanted to ask about.
I've got pages.
All right, so to further along, all right, as we talked about the escape of Michael and his return to Haddonfield, and we talked about the introduction of the girls and Jamie Lee and everybody there. The iconic house of Mr. Myers, and
Pasadena,
and the Strode family real estate company that her dad runs.
What a prick. What a prick. Like, you adopt, well, you don't find out that she's adopted in this, but you adopt the house where your murderous brother, you adopt this daughter, okay, you claim it as your own, but then you are in charge of the house where Michael murdered his sister.
And this is going to be weird, folks, because if you don't know already that this is kind of stuff that we have to ignore for the new film, but we
Absolutely.
have to swallow for us getting into Halloween 2.
So timeline,
We got two separate timelines. We're doing a paradox here.
let's do this real quick. Let's lay it out. Okay, there's the timeline. 1, 2, and H2O.
That's the thing.
Then there's 1, 2, 4, 5, and 6, 7, and 8.
Yep. That's the thing.
And then there's
One.
now this new one that's and
the new one.
2018. And then there's another timeline. What the fuck was it? Anywho, I don't fucking remember.
Three
it was
and
the Druids. It was the Druids. So then it's 3, 5, and 6.
Yep.
Good luck.
And I would say 1, 2, 3, 5, and 6 because of
5.
well, Halloween.
That was horrible.
Well,
Wait, sure.
Yeah, I know. We're going to Druid talk, and there's a lot of Sam Hain Druid talk.
It's funny because
in
Donald talks
Halloween
about
2.
Druids in
And-
this movie.
and does he do it in part 1 too?
And
I
two.
thought it was just 2.
Oh, no,
2
two.
because
Yeah,
of Sam
sorry.
Hain stuff.
Yeah.
All right, that's a whole.
So somebody snorted
God,
a
there's
shit ton
just-
of coke.
there's
looked at
So
that.
many cans of worms
I'm
to open
telling
with
you,
this.
I needed one fucking scene in Halloween 3, and I got tied of all this shit together. But we'll get to that
in 3 weeks.
in 3 weeks.
By
So-
our calendar, 3 months.
By my calendar, 3 years.
Some of you motherfuckers better start editing.
We'll see.
Jesus.
Oh,
Not it.
God.
So yeah, I mean, going in, you got, Michael kills his sister, Donald Pleasance, and Michael runs up, just escapes. Okay, flash forward, we're introduced to Lori walking out of high school, walking down the street with her friends. I'm sorry, Lori in class, fucking
Sees the car or the ambulance.
sees him standing there.
Oh, really? I thought it was the ambulance that pulls up across the street.
The station wagon.
Yeah, the station wagon ambulance thing.
That's not an ambulance.
Whatever.
The station wagon, the Looney Tunes
Yes.
car driving. But yeah, Michael stand there, and then she looks back and takes off. What are they discussing?
Fuck, I forget what they're talking about.
Totallys. Totally.
Totes.
Totes my goats.
What are they talking about? I forgot what they're
Frankenstein?
discussing. They're discussing something. I don't know if it's literature or fucking theater.
Well, they're talking about literature, but is it Frankenstein that they're talking about?
I don't remember.
It's not Fate, is it?
I don't know.
Oh, it is Fate. Fate. Yeah, I think it is Fate. Or is that Nightmare on Elm Street?
I don't know. Because I remember there was a scene that it ties into,
Why can I not remember this?
an encompassing fucking theme that would come to play in the film, but it wasn't like, I don't remember it.
Well, I mean, it just so happens that we have a Halloween aficionado with us tonight. Ralph?
It was Frankenstein.
It was Frankenstein.
Yeah?
Yeah.
All right, my man.
Because I thought it was so cool that they were talking about Frankenstein.
Good save.
I was trying to see how long it would take you to register it.
Well, because I get Fate mixed up. She talks about Fate, yeah, with Frankenstein character. What is Nancy? Fuck off.
They're
I don't
talking
care.
about opening a new Red Lobster in Haddonfield. That was
I
the discussion.
agree.
It's a PTA meeting.
So yeah, then Lori's walking with her friends down the street, and hey, jerk, speed kills as Michael drives by. Comes to a grinding halt.
Oh, shit.
Jeez, can't you take a joke?
Fuck her up.
I hate a man with no sense of humor in a car.
God, love the dialogue.
Sounds like Nate on the road going to Dallas.
Fucking A.
No sense of humor in a car.
I love.
I'm driving. I don't have time for a sense of humor when I'm doing 90 and getting cut off by semis in a 2-lane fucking highway. Only in Texas.
That's it. That's all you need. If you don't have a dick and balls, get in the right lane.
Yeah, apparently everybody in the right lane decides to get in the left lane and go just as slow.
Just as slow. Oh,
3 lanes, people. 3 lanes or it's not a fucking highway.
that's what the shoulder's for.
Suicide pass! That's horrible.
I've been guilty of that a few times. Shitty traffic.
I've done that a couple of times. I'm not going to lie. I've done that a few times.
Yeah.
Yep. All in a truck, but yeah.
I've gone straight in a turning lane. Because goddamn, I need to get away from you people. Like, fuck you all. I will go straight.
The street sweeper is passing me. Can we accelerate, please?
Jesus.
I will jump this curb and pass him.
Speaking of, accelerate the storyline here. Let's
All
go.
right. All of these really cool fucking nuances that when you get revealed with the shape, he peeks around a bush, he's behind the clothesline, he's, like Nate said, he's outside the school. I mean, all these nuances play to the foreboding night of Halloween. Everybody's kind of set up. You know, one girl's meeting her boyfriend, the other one's staying at this house because she's got to babysit this kid. Hey, can you watch this kid while I go do this with my boyfriend? And Jamie's like, you know what? I just want to fucking make popcorn, have a nice night, and call it a day. So she kind of has to be the, you know, she doesn't have
She's
a
a
boyfriend.
Girl Scout.
Yeah, she doesn't have the boyfriend. She doesn't have, you know, the sex life going on at this Halloween night, but she's interested in making the best of her friendships and her time with these kids that she's going to babysit.
And she's interested in Ben Tramer. I knew it.
Which is awesome. All of this.
So this is important, okay? This is separated by the Wallace house and the Lindsay's house. What the fuck is Lindsay's name? Oh, God. I don't remember her name. I'm sorry. I'm having a brain fart. But the house where Lindsay lives, as you go in, and the interior of that is all shot at a different location. Because if you look at the house, how it's built, the front door is it's a wall, like right beside there. There's no living room to the right.
Gotcha.
So when they walk in the Lindsay's house and turn to the right and go in, that's actually filmed in the Wallace house.
Oh, wow.
The Wallace house interior is filmed at a house down the street.
That's awesome. They were able to tie all the sets together.
Wait, what?
Okay, what the fuck?
I'm joking, I'm joking,
I
I'm
need
joking.
Lindsay's last name.
Draw me a map.
There's Wallace. Little
Draw me a map of all the houses.
Tommy.
Jarvis.
No, God damn it, that's what's sticking in my head right now. What's Tommy's last name? Tommy
Lee Jones.
Wallace. Okay, Tommy Wallace, and then Lindsay.
Shire.
No, it's not Shire. It's a Frodo fucking bag and balls.
Bag and balls.
Are you looking at what Lindsay's last name is?
Yes, it just
Please.
says Lindsay.
That's driving me nuts.
It just says Lindsay.
Oh, for fuck's
Yeah,
sake.
thank you. I am Imdaba.
Imdaba.
So yeah, if you think about it, look at Lindsay's house. When they go in the front door, there's nothing to the right. There's no building. It's a wall. Then when everybody goes in,
It just says fucking Lindsay.
Lindsay, you
Jeez.
son of a bitch.
Lazy fuck.
You
Lazy.
single name
Fucking
motherfucker.
I am Debetus. So yeah, the interior of Lindsay's
You know, that'd be a
house-
good question to ask if you end up
God
going to that
damn.
anniversary thing.
What? I can't go. I'm gonna have like double surgery. Like I said, you got to get that nip and tuck.
Nip and tuck and take care of that
I
turkey
really
neck
want
of
to go.
yours.
I really want to go to it, but I just don't think I can swing it.
You're right. It's Lindsay Wallace.
Okay, what's Tommy's name?
Jarvis.
Lindsay Wallace and Tommy.
Lee Jones.
Why am I fucking little Tommy
Doyle.
Doyle? Fuck! Okay,
Tommy Doyle and
so
Lindsay
okay,
Wallace.
there's the Doyle house and the Wallace house. Lindsay Wallace, her house, the interiors were filmed down the street.
Gotcha.
They were filmed at the wall.
I would have you.
They were filmed at the Doyle house. The Doyle house was filmed down the street at another house. Now, the only thing that you might go, well, why wasn't the Doyle house filmed at? It's because when you look at the front door, when Laurie's banging on it and she throws up the planter, she's grabbing to the right, trying to find the keys. Oh, the keys.
Yeah.
Well, when Tommy comes down, he pulls the door from his right, which would be Laurie's left. Yeah, it's reversed.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's cool.
She's banging on this side, trying to get it open, and he opens it from this side. So the interior was actually shot at a different house.
That's it. Yeah.
Except the upstairs balcony where he falls out the window.
Which is awesome when you have a ramp.
Yes.
Which I always hate.
The ramp was only in part 2.
That was only in part 2.
Yeah, in the first one he does that.
He has the balcony. Holy shuffle.
He does the Egyptian.
He shuffles right over the balcony. But in part 2, there's 7 shots, not 6.
Gotcha.
Yeah. I shot him 7 times.
6 times.
I reloaded 1 more bullet.
God, I love that. That's in Halloween too, though.
That is Halloween too. So yeah, I mean, I don't know if we got to go plot by plot, but this movie I think is like 88 minutes long, something like that. And all the way up until 20 minutes left, you just get little pop-ups. You get nothing really too terrifying.
Well, let's talk about the pop-ups. Let's talk about the murders, because this is a babysitter fucking killer and all that stuff. And all the Keen murders happen to be an animal, a dog in the house. All right. And then
his sister, Judith.
And then we get alluded to, not Lindsay, Annie. Annie gets killed. Her boyfriend gets killed.
Bob.
Who gets the amazing kill when he gets stabbed to that wall.
Oh, that's not Annie's boyfriend, but
that's Lindsay's boyfriend?
No, Lindsay's a little girl.
Oh, sorry.
Totally.
Gotcha. I'm trying to think of PJ Soul's name in the film.
Wow.
I know, I'm blanking. But when her boyfriend gets killed, it's that.
And you think I was the noob in this?
Oh, Bob is by far the best kill in this
because when you get stabbed to that wall, and that startle when he comes out of the nothingness and stabs him to the wall.
All right, Paul, you asshole.
Because then you get that awesome.
Around.
But when he goes back to talk to PJ Souls and he's got the sheet and the glasses, iconic as fuck.
It's awesome. Can't I get your ghost, Bob?
And that's awesome because I mean she plays with the situation and it gets alluded. That scene gets alluded to in Halloween 2 because they try to do what they did in part 1, but they don't really do it just as well. But it's neat the way they had that fun.
What?
The nurse scene in part 2 where she kisses his hand.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like PJ Souls is kind of flirting with Michael Myers, trying to entice him, but she doesn't know it's Michael, but it
Chick's
just goes...
great breasts.
It goes in reverse. I was like, where's the beer? He just throws it.
In every interview or anything, PJ Souls always says the same thing. She watched this at the Grauman's Chinese Theater, and when she did that "See Anything You Like," this big old biker guy goes, "You bet your ass I do." It's like, good to know I'm staying away from that guy.
Hey, to this day, you will be loved.
For real. I mean, too bad she didn't get his name. He would have been immortalized.
And that's a great kill too. I think what's her name gets the.
Well, that's the important kill because that's the very first time you see an up close shot of what this is looking like. What is this? And he puts the phone to his head. Oh,
yeah,
so great. And she's calling Laurie, and he just comes up behind her and chokes her out.
I love the chokeout scene.
Oh, it's so great.
The way they were able to do the car and the windows and everything, it plays to this. I don't know. I can't say it's stylized, but it's captured so fucking well that it can be replicated. Yeah, I think of like the snowy car scene in like Gremlins, you know, where there's snow on the windows. But this was able to do it in such a effortless way that it feels real, but then also so photographed so well by Cundy that it's very, you know, because the shape becomes this. You don't get a clear image of it. You get this.
It's always
this obscure horror, you know.
What the fuck? That's a very pale person.
God damn! And it just fucking comes in, and it has this menacing strength and this evil about it, and the way it kills. The only thing that takes me out of this film
that it pops up and it's William Shatner.
Tombstone on the bed throws me off big time.
He set it up.
I don't like that. That's the only thing I can like
Why?
really talk shit. I just don't like it.
Do you not like the whole funhouse effect?
I don't like
That
that.
Bob comes swinging out. Bob swinging out of the closet's the most annoying.
They created the maze, the horror maze that fucking Jason would
in
just
one room.
Yeah, but Jason would just fucking.
Jason would have a body hanging down the
but
stairs.
Jason would milk this throughout all of his films and Friday 13th films.
There'd
But
be about 10 more deaths.
I just don't like that. I
10
don't
more
like the
deaths, a
tombstone.
few more setups.
Jason's
depending on
fucking efficient.
and depending on which Jason we're talking about, he may set up a trap or two.
It's like, God, can you help me? I'm designing my maze.
Does anyone know how to tie a slip knot? It's got to come down perfectly.
I got the noose. I just need the slip knot.
Jeez.
Dude,
God
we
damn.
have the noose ready, just not the slip knot.
God, he would have a whole show on like home housekeeping or something like
Right, he's just all
keeping up with Jason.
silent tying knots.
Tying knots.
Jason is the Martha Stewart of the killer.
He's watching the swing before he sets it up. All right, it's a little 30 degrees. It's not opening. It's not opening when she opens the door. It's not getting the effect I'm looking for.
And then if you wanted to decorate your door with something that's not a door, I got this great body that you can hammer in with a corkscrew.
Now, tell me about your end table. I have an end table for you. A mother's skull.
a
What?
great, amazing centerpiece.
Here's a way to impale, but silently.
Yes.
And you want to know what we can do with this old table? Just throw a body over it. It'll be fine.
Fine.
Right.
Perfect.
Now you want to get rid of those drapey old blinds. I suggest throwing a dead body through it.
I prefer a bifold along the elongated spine. It reappropriates the weight so much better. China cabinets? Which better way to decorate?
Oh, God.
And on the next episode, we'll talk about how to make a homemade jam with a human head.
Sounds jelly.
Mummification.
Delicious.
Oh, it's awesome. Yeah, Jason, he kind of like over.
He's the HGTV.
Yeah,
of
HGTV
the,
over
of the killers.
But yeah, I hate
Home redecorating?
I don't hate. It's just the only thing that takes me out of the film is the candlelight fucking vigil with the tombstone. That just takes me out of
Well-
the fucking Halloween so fucking quick.
It does seem
Not
a
that.
little out of, or to me, it seems a little out of place.
Not that. Not that.
Everything else is Ahab catching the white whale.
Yeah.
It's Loomis going after Myers. It's Jamie Lee being that virginal strength that is what, she's the bait. She's the enticement for Michael's, complete satisfactory. Like, this was his night.
And
This
that
was
just
she was the tip of the full circle, you know?
And that tombstone with like you said, the candlelight vigil just kind of seems a little too thespian of him.
I love it.
I need to show the world
Yeah.
what I am.
I love it.
I will steal this tombstone. I will
Like I
take
said,
it
the
in
one
my-
that throws me off is Bob.
Bob.
Because it's like, right as she backs into the door, he comes swinging out of the closet. And that PJ Soul. God, what's PJ Soul?
I know. I'm fucking blanking
Okay,
like a
there's
freak.
Annie, Lori,
Toby Hooper?
Toby Hooper. We'll call her Toby Hooper for now.
Linda.
God! Linda.
I don't need
So,
to watch this movie.
Linda's stuff
I
in the
know it by
cupboard
heart.
makes sense to me.
Gotcha.
I don't fucking names, dude. Sheriff Brackett. Fucking
That's from part 4.
no.
That's what.
Annie Brackett, Sheriff Brackett.
That's Cypher.
Yeah, Charles Cipher.
That's Cypher's name.
Excuse me, Lori. I'm
All right.
drunk at 3
And
o'clock.
Cypher's character's Brackett, and Brackett's last name's Wallace.
In part 4, it's not Brackett. What?
What?
Would you ask me?
So what's his daughter? Is Annie Brackett?
Annie
right?
Brackett.
Okay. Make sure. Hey, I'm just trying to.
It's my dad.
I'm trying.
Someone broke
to-
in the hardware store. Probably kids.
Gotcha.
You blame everything on kids. Well, all they took was a Halloween mask.
Did
some
he
rope
get
and
listed
knives.
as a cameo in fucking part 2 then?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. You let him out.
He was what? He was in there for the first 20 minutes. That was it.
I love it.
All right, we'll go to it.
Anyways, so yeah, I mean, there's this wonderful cat and mouse. I love when she backs into the dark room after discovering the bodies, and she's just crying, and all of a sudden the blue light comes up on the mask, and it's like, bam! He stabs her grazes her on the shoulder, and she falls over the stairs, fucking, and then he's just standing at the top of the staircase like a fucking baller. Fucking gorgeous lighting, Dean Cundy. This last 22 minutes is fucking enthralling. It's gorgeous. It's shot perfectly. Every scene, every second has your heart racing.
Well, Tommy seeing the boogeyman carrying the body into his house. All these things that get alluded to that preempt that child fucking endangerment. Jamie Lee being the naysayer until it's too late. I love that. And this mask.
There's no boogeyman.
The mask is like the most perfect thing on earth to fucking light because it can be in total darkness and literally inches can make the most unsettling fucking situation spur up.
You know what would have been awesome?
Because of music cues and the mask lighting. Sorry.
Yeah. To actually have that mask whenever that movie got released. To say that you owned that mask.
Was it Don Post William Shatner mask?
Yeah.
Oh, a lot of people owned it.
Oh, yeah. But like,
Star
just to
Trek.
think about it, like, if you personally had
It
it.
was not.
Oh, wow.
Whenever you first saw that movie, you're like, I got that fucking mask.
Like the OG.
Think of how like over the moon you would be.
I mean, all they did was they whitened the face, they opened the eyes, and they changed the hair a little bit.
Yeah. And I'm amazed the evolution of it because
They've never been able to get it right.
Well, from the Shatner fucking mold to the one that's used for the film for part 1 and 2, and also what's really weird is that they were actually able to acquire one for the Goldface one that we'll get into with part 2. God, where these films overlap because it is like a continuous day.
Goldface one. Part 2. That's part 4.
The part 2 when the kid gets hit by the cop car.
Oh God! Okay, yeah.
Gotcha. Yes, I'm sorry.
The gold hair.
Gold hair. Sorry.
The face is going.
Hey, Michael Jackson.
He's all a fucking one of those mimes. In Pasadena. It makes sense if you've been to Pasadena.
It could be.
It's West Hollywood.
Yeah, it's like that mask.
Can't make it, so I'm gonna smoke rock and do pantomiming all day.
Jesus, I'm gonna shoot on something tonight.
That eyebrow raise just said everything.
Oh man,
horrible person.
Once we get Lori telling the kids to run and get the fucking cops, and we have Brackett being stopped by these kids, and Loomis fucking finally getting an idea of where to go to have the encounter to catch his fucking, his white whale. Ahab is his fucking direction. Jamie has one of the most harrowing, fucking awesome battles with Michael.
Oh, that closet scene.
From the living room to the closet. I mean, these scenes are done so fucking well. When she's panicking on the phone and the sit up behind the couch and stuff like that. All these little nuances are just... I can imagine the crowds and the theater crowds in the 78.
There is a YouTube audio.
Oh, really?
Of the 78 crowd watching Halloween.
I can imagine.
And literally every couple seconds, like you'll hear the music sting and people will just be like, "Wah!" Like,
yeah.
It sounds like such a riot to be
And that's
in.
the saddest part of this, because when we think about our theater experiences as us being consciously of age, it's like Scream.
Yeah.
It's films like that had maybe Paranormal
Get your
Activity.
fist pumping.
Blair Witch. I mean, there's films that hit little fucking milestones, but nothing to the level of what Michael Myers in Halloween and John Carpenter was able to bring in 78.
Well, I mean, I don't know, man.
I mean, can you imagine?
Hereditary, like my theater was screaming.
But opening
But
day,
it wasn't intensity like
opening
this.
weekend of Exorcist. Opening weekend of
fuck.
Halloween.
Oh, fuck.
Opening weekend of Nightmare on Elm Street. It's like, no. Well, I'm saying, like, there hadn't been anything like Nightmare on Elm Street.
It was
like,
all new.
The only time that you're ever getting kind of energy like that is like in the nerd culture movies now,
Right,
The Marvel
like Infinity
movies.
War.
The
Oh,
DC
he's
movies.
got the Hulkbuster costume. It's
Yeah.
like, what? Really?
God, I'm
Yeah.
glad I'm sitting behind him. God
Yeah,
bless
like
nerds. I'm nerd too. So whatever.
But yeah, like that's the only time you ever get that kind of energy now.
It's true. I mean, you
I'm
know,
scared, Mr. Stark.
I think
I'm scared.
I think one of the only, like one of the only fucking great theater experiences that I can remember, and that just pops off the top of my head is when me and Jeff went and saw fucking Nice Guys.
Oh my
Dude, we were dying.
We were the fucking girls in the audience, man. We're like, oh my god, Shane
Every
Black.
time Jeff would do that loud fucking laugh, I would laugh, and there was this guy
was
in
laughing.
front of us, and it was like, like had this really
I'm sorry.
bellowy fucking laugh.
Me,
And it was just like,
we've
oh,
all
this is
seen
great.
movies together. Like I think Doctor Strange. I was doing my pump fist. Yeah, this is amazing. But then when me and Nate went saw Nice Guys, I've never laughed
Dude, we
and
died.
been so fucking entertained, sober. Mildly
Sober.
mildly sober.
Hey, I'm a cowboy, and you.
Shoot me, shoot me.
Pretty good, huh? Shoot me again. Woo!
God.
How'd you get down there? Did you fall down the hill? Get down here, Healy!
God, I love that fucking film.
I'm so upset I missed out on that
Oh
adventure.
my god, The Nice Guys is probably one of the quintessential fucking
Best films in
Oh,
the past
God.
10 years. That's on my list. Like, by far.
Oh man, there's never been fewer
It's
and
like,
better.
Okay, when the doctors arrive, tell him I broke your radial tibia. He's like, what? Give me your arm. No!
No,
No!
that scream he does is fucking. Oh my god, it's like the scream and a whimper at the same time. It's like what the fuck?
Yes!
You'll be okay.
God.
I love that fucking film.
Boo! Gotcha! What the hell are you fucking doing? A rim job? Rim job? Rim shot!
Rim shot.
Rim shot!
God, don't say the word. Don't say the words.
How stupid do you fucking think I am, motherfucker? I've got a license to carry. Drops the cigarette.
Hey, whoa! Just stay there. Stay there. All right, face the window. Face the mirror.
You know there's a mirror here.
Shh, just close your eyes. Close your eyes.
Okay.
Open
Now turn around. He's holding-
And open my eyes. I love that film.
I wouldn't open that bag if I were you. There's a there's a Blue Wing cartridge in it. Yeah, right.
Why do you look like a Smurf?
If you ever get a chance, listeners, it's not horror. See The Nice Guys. Holy
God.
fuck, it's great.
Yeah, they just reenacted like a third of the movie.
No, there's more.
There's so much more.
There's so much more.
Has that palm tree always been there? Yeah, it came with the fucking house. God. God damn it.
You'd think we're doing a Halloween review.
Oh my god, that hurt my head. I just laughed so
I
hard.
know. I hate when I laugh and it's just like, oh.
Get lightheaded.
Now we
I
got
get lightheaded when I laugh too hard.
We got to return to darkness here. Yeah, but I mean, you're right. This is something that crowds.
Had to be elated to see.
The,
I mean, because drive-in scenes, the just theaters in general, being able to get into this fucking scene. Because I mean, when you get to the closet sequence, and you have that,
I mean, this was brought to the masses.
yeah,
Okay, like where people go, oh, well, Black Christmas is a slasher film. It's before this, and it tackles a holiday genre. Yes, but Black Christmas was very indie and didn't reach the broad scope of Halloween.
well, the kills
Or-
were just kills. And there, a lot of them were off camera kills too.
Black Christmas.
Yeah, and then with this, it's like you're in the closet with Jamie. You're feeling that dread. Stay quiet. Stay quiet. He doesn't hear you. He doesn't hear you. Oh, dude. And then she's getting in. How do you defend yourself?
Grab a hanger.
Hanger. All right, where are you going to stab him? In the eye. Oh, my God, that's brilliant. She's brilliant. She's brilliant. All right, she's getting free. She's getting free. He's dead. He's down.
Stabbed in the gut.
Oh, and then you get that fucking off shot, like, in the fucking background.
I want you to go down the street to the Beckers and call the police.
And then when he arises.
afraid.
But the mask removal.
You know, and that's one thing that's what I always hear people say is, oh, Michael Myers never been unmasked. He's been unmasked quite a bit.
Yeah.
I mean,
But what does it mean to people? That's the thing, though. It's like,
what do you think you'll see? What do you want to see? I mean, is it going to be a letdown because it's a normal dude? That's the thing that Carpenter thought of. He was like, okay, we are going to unmask him, but I want to make this guy angelic. I want to make him beautiful. Just a curly-haired blonde surfer dude. And that's why they brought in Tony Moran for that reveal. Like, he's a good-looking dude.
But when he's wearing the mask, he's the boogeyman. He's the shape.
Right.
He's this unstoppable
Non-person.
evil. Yeah.
He's a persona, but he's, majority
And what's
of
funny
evil.
is that everybody witnesses him is going to die. Man, that you meet the fucking man, you're going to pretty much be dead. And that's what's so weird, because Loomis has looked in this face for so many years. He knew what it was. He knew what the boy had disconnected to a point where he had kind of, become.
I love he says that to Sheriff Brackett. He's like, look, I watched him for 15 years, biding his time, looking forward to this night, inhumanly patient.
That's how
It's
we
just
feel
like-
after every summer for Halloween. Oh, summer's almost over. Halloween.
Hey, Donnie, get your ass away from there.
I love that, dude. It's awesome. He's all, yes, I scared the kid. Oh, shit. Cop grabs his shoulder.
God damn it, you can't scare me after I scare somebody.
I'm telling you, we've looked everywhere. Keep searching. He always has to talk the sheriff into keeping his patrolman out. And it's like, throughout this whole movie, he has to do that.
Yeah.
I fucking love that. I love that.
It's a weird take on, like, I don't know, Loomis just had this weird take on how he handled the fucking Haddonfield cops, and it gets even worse in part 2.
He played him psychology style. Like, every time the cop was like, there's nothing, he's like, eh. And he would lay out this wonderful fucking
Have you ever seen a
guideline.
fish eat its mother after it was birthed? I was like, what? All right, I guess go look at Columbus Street again.
Guess we'll.
Just look for fish, I think, maybe. I don't know.
But then he like comes across the car and he's like,
Oh, yeah.
I found him. He's here. He's somewhere on this block.
God, man.
And then he sees the two kids
I
come
hate that
running out of
Brackett
the fucking
wasn't
house.
there to see Loomis shoot Michael.
I love that. I love it because
'Cause
then
it-
somebody could have ran downstairs real fast instead of consoling Lori.
Yeah.
I love that it's just really a one-on-one with Lori just in the
He has
corner.
the showdown.
Yeah.
And he does the shot.
It's Van Helsing
But
versus
the idea that
Dracula.
he shoots him, and then he has that one-on-one in the bedroom. And then you have
What's
that.
the boogeyman?
But it's almost to the point of like him shooting at his own shadow kind of situation. You know what I mean? Because it's like, it's unstoppable. And it's,
I love that he runs upstairs, see Michael's, and he just bam fires. Michael falls, goes into the room, and Lori drops down, and then Donald Pleasance runs in there, and Michael's just
standing there waiting for him.
Bam, 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 fucking right over the balcony, and then Michael lands in the grass. Donald looks at him, goes back to Lori, and she goes, "What's the boogeyman?" As a matter of fact, that was. And he looks over the balcony again, and he's gone. Cue the music. Cue every sight where we saw Michael with heavy breathing. Oh, my fucking God. He's still out there.
And that's perfection.
That-
I mean, like I said, my one gripe for the film is the tombstone. And just saying that's not saying a lot.
and I
just-
think they did that
that's
just
a
for
minor
artistic.
And that's a minor gripe. Because for me, seeing this film, that was the one scene or shot that was beneath Cundy, that was beneath Carpenter, that was beneath
But it
everybody.
was so beautifully lit.
You're right.
The pumpkin on the
But it did-
nightstand
and-
and the headstone.
But this was like, this is very Friday 13th for me. This is
was
very.
before Friday.
I know. I'm saying this is very Friday 13th for me. This is very pre Friday 13th. This is
This-
This is very shrine like Psycho kind of
Exactly. This is a tribute. You got to remember that this movie is an homage to Psycho
But why was he honoring his sister?
and Touch of Evil.
Why was he honoring his sister with Annie's death?
I'm back. He wanted to let know who the fuck was doing this. Judith Meyer's headstone. It's
Guess who's back?
But
Yeah.
why? You know what I mean?
Back
I don't
again.
know.
That's what I'm
why.
saying. Like there wasn't really
'Cause it's not a person.
and I'm not asking for an answer. I'm just like
You're looking for a reason.
he was so fucking direct for his coming back to his street, seeing the encounters of Lori in his house, seeing her circle and taking it out. Why the tribute? Why the celebration? Why the decoration? That was the only I think the only gripe I had for any of Halloween Part 1.
I don't know.
And that's it. That's all I can talk shit about.
Why-
Because I'm not a fucking
Why
guy.
kill anyone?
That's the only reason. I don't get bent out of shape because a fucking dog died. I don't fucking not watch the movie because a fucking animal died. I don't mind, the non-gore in the film. Any of that shit. I think it's a solid film. And second of all, it's a great horror thriller. It's a great film baseline. Second of all, it's a horror thriller. And I think that just placates to, like, why this film keeps the momentum that it does still have. Because I try to go back to anything else that precedes it. Okay. Anything that came remotely after it.
All the imitations.
Yeah, it's
Horror wouldn't be where would be without this movie.
I agree.
I mean,
100%.
that's just fact. You wouldn't have Jason, you wouldn't have Freddy, you wouldn't have Pinhead, you wouldn't have any of these guys.
I like that Carpenter's going on to say that he felt like Texas Chainsaw Massacre was like actual sex. And his goal was kind of like to make Halloween kind of like what Chainsaw was able to do. It was to like do something with so much dread and all this fucking thing. But everything in that film, the more and more I hear Carpenter talk about it, was just an artistic mistake. It was just a happenstance of like, wow, we were able to capture that lightning in a bottle and do so much right with this fucking film, with this this small little fucking idea, but do such a grandiose fucking execution. And then everything that came after it, like he had said, is kind of like a hand job, like fucking Friday the 13th. He goes, you basically placated on everything we've created, and you've kind of jerked yourself off in the corner, like, let's just do what they did, you know? And that's why it was like...
And Carpenter felt a lot like that to a point because everything was an homage to Psycho. This movie is... Sam Loomis is a direct lift from fucking The Boyfriend in Psycho.
Even
getting Janet Leigh's daughter, Jamie Lee, fucking...
Even the music that he wrote was like, it preceded this film. He wrote something in 5/4 time, and he felt that it fit perfectly for this film, and he used it.
I agree.
And I was just like, wow, like how much of this was just in his head and would eventually take that fruition.
What do you think, Ralph?
I'm just paying attention. It's like story time over here. I'm loving it.
It's true.
Final thoughts. Well, for this particular movie, for me, like I said, I kind of let loose a little bit earlier, which I do feel as though this is one of the classics. This is one of the movies I feel, if you're a horror guy or gal or kid or whatever have you, this is an amazing movie. This is a good movie to watch. And it's almost one that you could show your grandma and not feel horrible about it. Like, it is a work of art. It is a piece of cinema that I do highly recommend, and it's, I don't know, I just like a cat.
Asshole, those pages aren't numbered.
But no, this movie though it is a work of art, and I do agree that there is one thing in the movie that does kind of throw me off, which is that tombstone, because Michael, he never felt like he was like the theatrical type.
Yeah.
Like he didn't. I never felt as though Michael needed to like present himself, like, "Hey, I'm here." He was always that guy that's like just waiting and watching and
doing a good job of it.
Nope. I'll wait a little bit longer. Coast. Okay, let's go.
Exactly 9:00.
Yeah, he's one of the he bides his time. He doesn't. He's never made a point to like present himself or make his presence known. Like, yeah, he does leave the body count there, but out of everybody, he didn't feel the need to leave the clown mask on his hanging victim. He didn't feel the need to leave a bloody knife next to another victim. He didn't have to leave like a calling card or anything. But outside of that one thing, this movie is a work of art. I love it. It's one of my favorites, and I just feel horrible that it took me this long to get to it. Because when did we meet, Nate?
Hey, you're welcome.
Yeah, exactly.
Like 6 years ago, Ralph.
Yeah,
It's been longer than that, I bet.
Like I said, I knew of Michael. I kind of had an idea. I knew how many movies there were out, but I never sat down and watched them until I actually started hanging out with Nate after that first initial movie that he handed me, which was fucking The Thing.
Gotcha.
Right.
So
I mean,
after that, it was just after that, it was just a month of John Carpenter. Every time I go over to his apartment, like 3-4 fucking buildings down. Hey Nate, what are we doing today? We're watching John Carpenter. Okay, cool.
Well, I mean, and I knew Ralph was into horror because he was like one of the biggest Jason fans I've ever met. But then when I said, "Hey, have you seen Halloween?" and he was like, "No, not really." I was just like, "I'm offended. I'm offended. Sit your ass down."
That's how you start a relationship, right there, folks.
So badly that I moved into his apartment complex. And made him
Yeah.
come over every day.
Yeah, they fucking.
Set up residency.
That's a really fucking funny story.
It really was.
That's going to be one for another episode.
That is one for another episode. But I guess I'll. Were you finished?
Mm-hmm.
He's taking a big chug off his beer, so I'll just go ahead.
no, go ahead. That was it.
This is one
Bye.
of my favorite films. This was one of my very first horror films I ever watched. I think I was 5 when I saw it. If I have it my way, this will be the film that I watch before I die. I fucking love this movie.
So you're going to be watching it every night from the sound of it?
No, in fact, in high school, which might sound weird to people, but I kind of have like a little bit of OCD. I'm a completist. I watched this movie every day for 2 straight years during high school. I fucking love this movie. I always watched like 5 movies, 4 movies a day. Then I'd practice music and go get drunk and get a blowjob from my band. No, but I mean, I literally watched this movie every day for 2 years. I think I was 9th grade till 11th grade. And you just look at it and you think of all the behind the scenes. I've seen every documentary on this. I'm spacing the names right now. I did 5 pages of notes off memory
Let me see.
because I could not fucking my notes.
Yes. Let me see.
The next 3 pages are Halloween 2.
5 pages of notes.
And that's just off memory. That's just what I could think of because today I had to watch the baby and, the wife stuck it in and broke it off.
And you bagged it up for
I
her.
couldn't watch the fucking movies, but I mean, I already know so much about this movie. Like I said, first horror film, and hopefully it'll be the last film I watch. I love the homages. Me and Jeff have a difference of opinion of eras and color or not color. And I'm of the mind that I love earlier films. So, I mean, when they do that beginning shot, I watched Touch of Evil probably around 8. I mean, it came much later. But to find out that was an homage, that beginning long 3-minute steady cam shot was an homage to Orson Welles' Touch of Evil, it made sense. And then to know that Janet Leigh and Jamie Lee and the Psycho references, and I mean, it was just such a it was like a opus to old horror, and I fucking loved it for that. I mean, it's a fucking 100%. There's some lagging parts. Yeah, kids these days don't have an attention span.
You say something?
Case in point. You have an 88-minute movie, roughly 88 minutes. I don't know the exact time with credits, but you have a movie where you get little pepper sprinkles throughout it. No deaths. Just what the fuck is that? What is this guy looking at? Peeping Tom? What the fuck? Oh, he's standing in her backyard. Oh, he's riding in a car. You're like, what does this guy look like? But you're gonna miss that because you're fucking nose deep in your fucking iPhone. And then you're going to kick your husband and go, what happened? I'm not going to explain to you. You have to watch the fucking movie in full.
The porn's not going to watch itself.
Turn out the goddamn lights, put the phone in the fucking room, and watch this movie. It deserves it. It's historically and aesthetically important. It's part of the film registry for the National fucking Registry Act for film.
Got accepted to the Library of Congress in 2006.
Yeah, I mean,
Was it 2006?
and
Nice.
did this get accepted before Exorcist?
No.
2006?
Oh yeah.
Wasn't Exorcist like 2009?
Exorcist got accepted before this.
Well, it was an Academy Award winner, so whatever.
I just know that. It was just,
But I mean, okay, how many horror films are in that?
not a lot.
This is.
Yeah.
So fucking watch it and enjoy it. 100% and goddamn highest of buys and recommends. I own Probably 6 versions of just the first one alone.
I'm getting another one in September.
What happens in September?
The actual 4K release comes out.
Ugh!
On a 4K UHD.
I hate it. I don't even own a 4K, but guess what? I'm going to fucking buy it.
I know, right? I'm
So,
just
yeah,
curious.
That's it for me. Love it.
This was my boogeyman. When I grew up, I watched this way too young. And
How old were you? You were around the same age, yeah?
I was probably like 8.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, I was young because when I watched horror films, my dad watched a lot of films, and I'm talking about VHS, Laserdisc. But going to theaters and seeing things like Platoon or Jaws 3 or Friday 13th 3, when I guess Halloween was brought to the house, it was very much like Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It was watching something that was just surreal at such a young age that it would fuel nightmares throughout my youth and into my teens of what a boogeyman or a slasher could truly be. Because where Texas Chainsaw Massacre drew a line in the sand, where like, if you come into my land, you're going to come into my house of horrors. Well, Michael brought the house of horrors to you. And he didn't stalk backwoods. He didn't stalk, little rudimentary fucking suburbs. He was in the heart of your town. And that was, I think, the fear of it. It was your local, dollar store. It was driving down your streets while you're at school. It was this monster that hid in the dark and waited for you at your most vulnerable moment. It was very involuntary for them to capture these elements of, like, if you have sex, you die. I know that became a staple for a lot of horror films, but it wasn't as mentionable when they were making this film. It just happenstance again. Carpenter and Cundy and Deborah Hill and everybody involved in this film truly set a mark of what indie horror could truly be. If you take just a little pinch of an idea and you add a collaborative effort with a singular vision and you just appropriate the right amount of inventiveness, you can literally capture lightning in a bottle too. I hate that there are people that are younger and they see zombies films as being the quintessential of this character. It's opinions. I don't feel begrudged or
I do.
It's just opinions. And for me, this was my childhood. This is like Nate and everybody's. I think me and Nate, because of our timeline, the 80s was Carpenter. If you look at Carpenter's filmography for just the 80s, you'll see a man's creme de la creme in those fucking years. And with him taking this in 78 and slapping us in the face all the way through our childhood, it's amazing what this man's accomplished. So for Halloween being Michael Myers, it's the truest fucking footnote in this series. You can do no wrong. In purchasing this film, it should be viewed, like Nate said, in the dark. Sound up. Phones in the other room or on silent.
And dick out.
And dick out. Because you are going to be in for the fuck of your life. Because this film is quintessential in the horror realm. There's other films that I am a Dario Argento fan. I am a Sean Cunningham fan. I'm a James Wan fan. I'm a fan of so many things. But I can talk shit on almost everything I just fucking mentioned. But when I come back to Carpenter, there's just a true love in Carpenter's work. I don't know what the fuck it is, but Carpenter will always have a soft spot. That's why I have a fucking wall of The Thing. I have a wall of Halloween. Well, I used to. And then, it's just what he's been able to accomplish. This is the strongest fucking, standing on the mountaintop and screaming at the sky saying, look out. Because this was Carpenter's fucking year. 10 years. Because what he did was he was unstoppable for the 80s.
You know what that magic is that
Totally.
he puts into his movies? Cigarette ash.
I think so. I think it was
Burns?
Cigarette burns and
him
ash.
and Deborah Hill smoke like motherfuckers.
Yep.
And then if you give me a little Toby Hooper with his Dr. Pepper love, that's just a match made in heaven. And I've been waiting off the fucking cigarettes, but I haven't been able to shake the Dr. Peppers lately.
That sounds like a Nate's weekend right there.
Goddamn
Cigarettes and Dr. Pepper.
That's all I take all
I know.
day.
That's a Carpenter Hooper
That's why
fucking
I'm
diet.
242 pounds.
Every
in
breath.
my thighs. The rest of me is a midget. Small scale like Deadpool.
So if you haven't taken note, everything from this is pretty much a downhill battle. But hey, we will be here every week checking in with you with more Halloween fucking fun.
Well, there is one more important part to mention, and as you were saying, you don't know what it is about Carpenter's early films, not just his early films, but the staple through most of the 80s. I've got to give the collaboration. It's him, Deborah, and Dean. Like,
Unstoppable.
I mean, when they made Halloween, Carpenter and Dean Cundey met for, I think, a lunch, and Carpenter says, they were talking about their favorite films, and Carpenter said, you know what I really love is the lighting of Chinatown. And Dean Cundey goes, I know exactly what you mean, and that's why you get all the soft blues and these real light whites. Because if you watch Chinatown when it's nighttime, it looks identical to this Halloween.
Gotcha.
And that's like a chemistry of understanding that not a lot of people click together. Not a lot of people always use the same cinematographer or the same production company with Deborah Hill, or use the same three people to bring these things to fucking life.
Yeah.
And I think, The Thing, The Fog, Halloween, They Live.
I think that was the thing about The Thing and The Fog and Halloween and all these films, is that Cundey knew he wasn't working with a director like Kubrick, who was going to be like, you're going to put the camera here, you're going to shoot at this fucking aspect ratio, you're going to shoot with this lens, and you're going to do this, you're going to do that, you're going to light it like this, and they're going to have the actors and they're going to stand here. That was Hereditary. Hereditary is like, I want the camera here, he's going to come in here, he's going to say that line, he's going to go out this way, we're going to light it like this. Hereditary's followed the same, I have the shot list in my head, we're going to shoot this. Yeah. With Cundey and Hill and Carpenter, flying by the seat of your pants, telling things visually, having that collaboration, you're gifted with so much more when you're able to fucking... And then having Tommy Lee Wallace step in the editing room, and you're able to cut this shit and score it the way they did, that's magic, people. I mean, you don't get that a lot. Even after Tarantino's, I forget her name, I think Miss Sweeney or something, when she passed away, there's a marriage when you're working with somebody for so long, and that collaboration's there. It's like why Spielberg keeps a tight fucking loop around his circle of friends. It's why everybody, when you're in that circle, you're the best you can be, and I'm making you the best you can be, and we're going to keep on fucking keeping each other, our heads above water. Once you lose a fucking inch, it becomes an anchor, and the next thing you know, you're looking up, what the fuck.
Well, it's funny, like Cundey, in his words in the behind the scenes, he said, we were like a fucking war tribe.
Wow.
We pitched a movie, it got picked up, and we made it fucking happen with nothing. I mean, their crew was like a sound guy, a DP. I think the DP and cinematographer were the same guy, Dean Cundey. And then you had the director. Then you had the two writers, John Carpenter and Deborah Hill. You had the collaboration of Dean telling John, hey, if we light it in this way at this angle, it'll be killer. And John going, yeah, but can we bring it to this angle? No problem. Sweet. I mean, John had a focal, a vision, and everybody else worked with him to make that perfect. Like John said, Chinatown, Dean immediately was like, I got you. I know exactly what you're fucking talking about now.
Yeah.
And it's like you don't get those collaborations very often. I mean, I don't even know. I don't even know who hangs together anymore. No. I mean,
that's what
George Lucas and Spielberg, but when they actually got together, they made one of the worst goddamn films ever. Indiana Jones.
But you live to get older. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, that's the thing.
But I mean, it's like, okay,
look at Joe Dante in the 80s. Look at Robert Zemeckis in the 80s. It's like
a great example would be Alfred Hitchcock. Always allowed his wife first snips on a movie.
Yeah. Well,
and she had a girl that would edit, and then she would look at the final.
But I think a lot of that was hand in hand with him.
So it was a collaboration between wife and friends.
Yeah.
And it made perfection, because you're not a guy Okay, I've got 20 grand. I've got a lot of spool of film to fucking go and snip. You know, it was a love.
And and I think a lot of these other people, they wear too many hats. I want to be producer. I want to be writer. I want to be
Carpenter
director.
wore a lot of hats in this.
And that's what I'm saying. When you wear too many hats and you shoulder too much of the responsibility, I think somewhere you get cut off from the project. You lose a little footing where you should be a little bit stronger. I don't know. I think that's what makes a true visionary. That's why when you watch a Robert Rodriguez film, you're watching literally what Robert Rodriguez wanted to fucking shovel in your face. So you better hope it's goddamn gold, because if not, you're watching, you know, Planet Terror or something like that. And you're just kind of like, yeah, it's fine. It's fine.
Not a big
I love it,
Rodriguez
but
fan.
it's neat.
So, I mean, this concludes Halloween 1, unless there's something else you guys want to say. Ralph's pretty much taking on the Michael Myers persona right now.
He's the shape in the darkness.
One beer in, he's got his hand over his mouth, and he's got an evil look in his eye. I'm worried.
He's thinking of pre-orders for next month.
So from all of us, join us next week as we'll be talking Rick Rosenthal's Halloween 2.
No way.
Indeed we shall.
Okay.
See you next time. I'm Nathan.
This is Jeff.
And this is Ralph.
Keep it scary.
Thank you for listening to Deep in the Horror of Texas. Be sure to like and follow us on Facebook and Twitter. If you like what you hear, please leave a review on the iTunes or Stitcher radio app. And above all, remember to keep it scary.
He's a great big coward, so I'll tell you what to do. Hush, 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 here comes the boogeyman. Don't let him come too close to you, he'll catch you if he can. Just pretend that you're a crocodile, and you will find that boogeyman will run away a mile. Say shoo shoo and stick him with a pin. Boogeyman will very nearly jump out of his skin. Say buzz, buzz, just like the wasp that stings. Boogeyman will think you are an elephant with wings. Hush, 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 here comes the boogeyman. Tell him you've got soldiers in your bed, for he will never guess that they are only made of lead. Say hush, hush, he'll think that you're asleep. If you make a lovely snore away, he'll softly creep. Sing this tune, you children one and all. Boogeyman will run away, he'll think it's Henry Hall. When the shadows of the evening creep across the sky, and your mommy comes upstairs to